Well, hello my friends, welcome to Breakfast with Sergio. In today's episode, we're going to address the topic of, as an artist, is it okay to change my style?
Resources, inspiring interviews, business practices, and practical advice to take your art career to the next level. Join Sergio Gomez in today's Artist Next Level and get ready to take control of your career.
Drew is here joining me in Breakfast at my table. He is a Canadian artist, flew from Malaysia to be here with us for the opening of his show, The Magnetic North Paintings, that opens on September 16 at the Richter Contemporary Gallery. But today we're going to address this topic. So Drew, first of all, before we talk about that, good to see you.
And good to see you, sir.
What's in your plate?
What's in my plate? There isn't anything yet, but there soon will be, and that's a nice little cottage cheese.
That's awesome. On mine is like overnight oats. And if you saw our first episode that we did together, we had a really delicious, amazing breakfast that Drew did.
That was the wow factor.
Today was like everybody's on its own, figured out what you want to eat, and so we're going lean. But we've been having some great meals as you have been here. But I think our friends, who are here, they really want to hear from us about this topic, so we want to kind of like expand on it, and so you want to stay all the way to the end because there's a lot of really good value in this conversation that we can have it. So let's talk about this idea, right? So as an artist, is it okay to change my style or to try something I haven't tried? Because I think often we have like this fear, right? Like, I'm known for something, is it okay if I try something else? Or sometimes as artists, I think we feel restricted by what people see, like, okay, what if people have seen in my social media, figurative, what if I change the abstraction? Will they be confused? Will they stop following me? So let's talk about a little bit on that, your take, my take, and hopefully from our take, your friends can get your own take on that.
Yeah, it's a good topic. I mean, I think it's a discussion that we all need to have. And I think we have it internally with as artists, and often with the galleries that we're submitting our work to. We have to be conscious of that. It's consistency in our work, or there's a mark or something that identifies our work as our work. But I'm a full believer in experimenting, in building through application or ideas, as long as we retain that the personality, our personality in our work that is noted. There might be a mark or an identifying application, and I think it's important for us to grow. Louise Nevelson, the American sculptor, had said at one point, the middle ground is the most boring place, and I have to agree. If we stay in that middle ground and we don't push ourselves, we're stuck in that. We become we're creating widgets, and we're just creating the same thing, and that can't be inspiring for anybody. However, that's an essential part when we're building exhibitions. There has to be some sort of consistency. But does exhibition to the next exhibition, does it have to be exactly as the first? I don't think so. I think we can expand upon our creative, our ideas.
And I think there's value always, on how we work. You mentioned something that's, I think, super important, your mark, right?
Yes.
And I think also understanding where we are as in our career and as artists. If you're an emerging artist watching this, maybe you just started working, you need to experiment. You need to do a lot of things. You cannot expect to arrive to a style or something really quickly. You arrive to it by the process of trying and making and discovering, and sometimes I think there's this pressure, like you gotta know what you're all about, you gotta know your mark really fast, but give yourself time. I think if you're an emerging artist, give yourself time to arrive to that point. So when you arrive it, then you have this mark making or this way of working that starts to distinguish you from other artists. And that's something that I admire of your work when I saw it 20 years after I have seen your work. For those friends who do not know, I saw Drew's work 20 years ago, and then I didn't see him again, and then I saw his work 20 years later, and the first thing when I looked into your Instagram, it really impressed me that you had that mark making that I had seen, even though your paintings were very different to 20 years ago.
Yes.
But there was something about it that, and like, that's a Drew Harris painting.
Yeah, and I think that and that's unconscious. I don't plan that per se, and I think as long as we are true to ourselves, we have elements in our work that, like yourself and like many artists we know, there's a finishing mark that identifies us to our work, and it's a comfort level. Once we apply that sort of finishing mark, or it could be something that identifies a finished piece. It feels that we've completed a piece, and we haven't strayed too far from who we are. We always make that mark. Someone will know, anyone looking at our work will know, particularly in your work as well. I can identify your work for, probably across a decade now. Seeing older work, I would know that it's your work because there's something in there that you have. There's a certain mark that you make that is finishing for you, and I know that, and it's consistent through the whole thing. Now, having said that, we can, each show, where as artists we have to be. It's our job really is to experiment, to bring something new, and that's a difficult process. Today, because of the pure volume of art that's being produced, really in many ways there's nothing new. It's just an adaptation of a certain, of our work as we go. So experimentation keeps us, up in the morning. We get up, we go into the studio, we're excited about what we do. I can't imagine just being sort of slotted into doing something the same thing, like a widget. It's like a machine, and I think I would be incredibly bored doing that. So while I'm keeping elements of my own work in each of the series, I'm experimenting because each series leads to the next. So what I've done here, next year will be seen, in a new body of work. So I think it's really important that we are moving forward rather than staying stagnant.
And a lot of the times, because you and I, we talk a lot, you live in Malaysia, our friends that I know, so it's quite a bit of a distance. First time we actually meet in person. And for the last 2 years, we've been exchanging a lot of ideas in our work. You send me pictures of what you're doing in your studio, I send you pictures of what I'm doing in the studio. A lot of times, in this process of evolving as artists and maturing, we make pieces that nobody's ever going to see because they are transitional, like we're testing. Like sometimes you show me something like, look what I'm doing today, and it's like totally different to what I have ever seen, and vice versa. Like, look, I'm experimenting, I'm doing some pouring, and but those things allows us to kind of take that to the next level. And so I think also sometimes there's this pressure that everything that we start must be a finished work of art.
Oh, absolutely not.
And I think I wanted to kind of touch that based on our friends who are watching, to give yourself that permission to, not everything that you start has to be something that's going to end up in the show or that's going to be, final piece. Make work that feeds your thirst and your desire to try new things, and without the pressure of I must finish it.
And if you have doubts,
Instagram,
always, if you have doubts, find a mentor, someone that you're close to, and you and I have developed this kind of friendship at a distance, where we're comfortable enough to, if I had a question about something I'm doing or a new application or a new idea, I'm excited about it, but I also need to know the other side. I have to run it by someone that I trust, and we all have that one individual that we trust. So show them, and they will, if they're really good friends that are willing to be open and honest, they'll say, well, that might not be working. It's not working. It might be too much of a diversion in your work, right? And so we can pull back. We fully understand then that whatever my abstract idea was, and we all have them, and I encourage it. There is a limit. We have to pull back to our comfort level without, shocking our public. So it's always good to have a mentor as well, and I truly appreciated it. The last year or so since I've been building the show, I show you the work, I show you elements of it, and you give me that feedback. Whether I take it or not, it's a valued feedback.
Exactly.
And the show that I'm currently, which will open this coming Friday, on the 16th, that was a show that I started with an idea, and it developed over time. And actually, from the initial idea to the finished product, the concept really quite dramatically changed, and that came about because of situation, the studio, what I was doing, everything from the weather to the emotional value. So, but I allowed it to happen, but within reason. I couldn't push it too far into something new because you, as a gallery director, are expecting a certain Drew Harris.
Right.
Now, if I show up with a Jackson Pollock style, you would say, well, I think you've gone too far.
Right.
So there's elements there that we have to.
Or you show up with a bunch of sculptures and happen.
You see, this can happen.
Yeah.
And it has happened with gallery directors. They're expecting one thing, and the artist says, well, I decided to go, full on and change. And I think while it's good for yourself to do that, it's not good for the business of art. You've got to maintain some semblance of continuity.
Yeah.
So I think, but I'm always the first one to say and champion, experimentation.
Yeah.
Try it. There's so many mediums. There's so many applications now. There's so much information just in our social media where you can pick up elements, and you find that one element that works for you. You apply it. You're moving in a new direction, and it's subtle, but that keeps us motivated.
Yeah, and there's value on those changes and on those kind of ways of trying to find what's fitting, what fits. Right. So something that really impressed me before the pandemic, I went to New York to see the Richter exhibition, and it was a beautiful exhibition. And he's known for, you will go into one of the rooms in the gallery and will be all these representation of pieces. Next room where all these almost pixelated, abstract paintings. The other one more of the smearing of the paint. So each room had a totally different show. So if you would not know about Gerhard Richter, you would think that they're different artists, right? But something that I admired is that in everything that he has gone through, is that it's not okay, today I'm gonna do a painting that's abstraction, and tomorrow I'm gonna do, but rather it's this idea of if I'm gonna go into explore a specific way of working, a specific ideas, I'm going to do go in depth, not that's just one painting, or but really make a lot of them out of the bunch. Some will be good, some will be bad, and then when he switched to something else, again, not just one piece, but a lot of them, in order to find and to really explore. So it's kind of I think of it, as the chapters, as artists, we're writing a book through our work.
That's exactly it.
Chapter may be different. There may be a chapter where you are going in a different direction, but a chapter is not just one sentence.
That's right.
And I think each painting or each work of art that we make is one sentence in this whole book that we're doing. So if we think about, well, I'm going to try, like I did, also for my previous show with all the abstraction pieces which I had never done before.
Yeah.
I consider that a chapter in my artistic development, in my artistic career. Not if I had done just one painting, I think I wouldn't have learned. I wouldn't have really gotten to where I am now, because I decided to do many of them. Some were really good, some were really bad.
Yeah.
And but that's the process,
You think in a way we can identify with musicians, for example. Yeah. There's a reason a song is perhaps 3 minutes long, because it's told us what it needs to tell us in that period of time. Or a book is written with so many pages, the writer has completed the task. He or she have said everything they need to say, and I think that works also in a show. and a body of work, like you were saying with Richter. He will go in deep, and he'll experiment, and he will identify a certain thematic in that series. But I think it all has a lifespan. It will take us from here to there, and then it just doesn't inspire us any longer. And something within that process will take us into the next. And Richter might be an extreme because he is, as you say, you can go into one room and then go into another room, and you would think you were looking at two different artists. There is a worry of doing that, particularly for young artists or emerging artists. Consistency, I think, is important. It's very important because the galleries are watching you, the dealers are watching you, the collectors are watching you. And if you just keep bouncing from one style, like you say, figurative, into abstraction, into digital art, into photography, you're really, while you are doing great things, it doesn't show consistency. And I think that you build your career on a certain characteristic in your work.
It's kind of why we like certain genres of music or certain artists.
Exactly.
Because we can recognize that when we hear it.
That's right. And I really believe that we are, this is our, I don't think any of us like to stop, growing, of course. And that's our job. We're inspired by the creative process. And if the creative process stops at doing exactly the same thing every time, musicians and writers have to change. They have to expand. They have to come up with new subject matter. But you can identify elements for each of those artists. You're listening to such and such. You're reading such and such. But it's a completely different subject matter. But there's elements in there that are key to you as the artist.
So my friend, I hope that you have enjoyed this chat. And these are kind of like some of the subjects that we covered in the Weevil retreat that we will have on September 17th and 18th here in Chicago, in-person retreat. 2 days, amazing conversations with Drew, talking about studio practice, Dr. Janina talking about wellness, mindset. I'll be talking about the business. And these are kind of like the topics that sometimes, are hard to discuss, but in a setting like that, really we can go in depth, really we can have conversations. And we can hear also multiple points of view from the different artists who will be there. So if you're still interested on Weevil, we invite you to check it out. We have added also a huge bonus, which we're going to have an online exhibition with all the artists that participate. And it's going to be really awesome. We're going to create a beautiful full color catalog as well through Blur of all the artists who are participating. So it's going to be awesome. The show will open November 1st, and Drew is going to curate the show. I will host it.
Totally honest.
Curate. So you can still sign up. There's still just a few spots available, literally just a few. Just go to theartistnextlevel.com/Weevil or look for the link right here on the description of this video. But Drew, you've been so awesome. Cheers to you, my friend. We have
always fun.
We have a busy day ahead setting up for your show. Thank you to all our friends for watching.
Thank you.
Where can our friends find your work on Instagram, if you could share on your website?
On Instagram it's Drew Harris Art, and on Facebook Drew Harris, and my website is drewharrisart.com.
Awesome. My friends, you know where to find me. Wherever you find this guy right here. All right. Have a good day, my friends.
Check out our website at www.theartistnextlevel.com, where you will find our podcast library, learn about our upcoming webinars, find resources relevant to your career, and much more. Thanks for listening to today's podcast, and we'll see you at the next level.